Hey guys, this was a live podcast recorded at the Now Hear This Festival in New York City. Big thanks to Dan Franks for setting it all up. A couple of notes before we get into the show. I promoted Ryback and Pat Buck's show after Ryback came on as a guest. The two of them have actually parted ways in the podcast world. Pat Buck started his own podcast. I want to recommend that you check that out. The Pat Buck Wrestle Pro Show. Subscribe to wherever you find your podcast. Also, you can see Bobby Lashley headlining Bound for Glory, where he tags with King Mo to take on Moose and Stephan Bonner in a steel cage. That's November 5th, Ottawa, Aberdeen Pavilion, live on pay-per-view. It's an 8 p.m. start. ImpactWrestling.com for that information. Also, some quick business notes. The night before Thanksgiving in Chicago, Marty and I are doing our annual Unprofessional Wrestling Comedy Show. It's at the North Bar, $10, Wednesday, November 22nd, live at northbar.com for tickets. If you're going to be at Fest this weekend in Gainesville, I'm doing a live podcast on Saturday at 5:40 at the Hippodrome. And November 9th, my children's book, Wrestling Dreams, will be available to ship at coltmerch.com. I'm going to be doing a harder push in the upcoming weeks, but if you have kids, if you know kids, if you've seen the movie Kids, you'll love this book, and I'll sign it on my website, and I'll send a nice video to a child of your choice. It's going to be up on coltmerch.com very soon. All right, enjoy this week's show.
This is The Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana. It's Colt Cabana.
All right. How you guys doing? Come on in. Sit down. Relax. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds, the souls, the hearts, and the lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I'm your host. My name is Colt Cabana. Hello. I am a podcaster. I'm a New York visitor. You know what? I might be a drag queen coming up pretty soon. I'm really contemplating it. We'll get into that a little later. A little weird if you're listening right now and you're like, why is Colt saying he's a drag queen? Well, he's not. He's a drag king, and I am proud of it. Most importantly, though, I am a professional wrestler, and I am not coming to you live from my studio in Chicago, Illinois. I am at the Now Hear This Podcast Festival in New York City in front of a live studio audience. Before we go any further, this is a fan-supported and listener-supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to you free of charge every single Thursday. SoundCloud, ColtCabana.com, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you can support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend, tweet it out, Facebook it out, Snapchat it out, put on a RuPaul filter, and just get real sassy, and then say hey to your friends. You should listen to Colt's podcast. The best way that you can support, though, coltmerch.com, digitalcolt.com, t-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs, digital downloads, premium podcasts, and much, much more. That's coltmerch.com, digitalcolt.com. And then afterwards, I think after Ryback's show, I'll edit point, after conversations with the big guy, am I legally allowed to say Ryback? We don't know. We'll get to that later. I'll be out there at coltmerch.table.buffet line, whatever's out there. I'm excited. We're going to have a fun show. I'm excited to be at the podcast festival. I'm excited to see all you guys. I can name you individually. Frank over there on his phone, having a good time. My friend here, what's your name? Jason. I love that hat, Jason. Keeping the shade, keeping the hot lights of the podcast out of your eyes. Smart move. And you, sir, you are dressed. If Nation of Domination was white, you would be perfect, sir. You would be the Clarence Mason that we all needed. Bless your heart. I am excited here. As you can see, you guys out in the crowd, I have a tablecloth that makes me look like I'm a real sexy man. Is that right? Which one do you think is me? This is the Mack Weldon stage, am I correct? Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Mack Weldon, I'm pretty sure, well, you know what, I'm not exactly sure because somebody has never sponsored me, Mack Weldon. Who's Mack, are you in here? Because I'm not, but, you know, I did realize that we're on the Mack Weldon stage, and they do underwear and socks, and I don't know if you guys know this, they do have a wrestling line of underwear, which is pretty cool because wrestling's a very niche thing, and I didn't expect them to really have this line, but I have the line. I'd like to kind of kind of inform you guys. This is my duty. I'm supposed to do this at the Mack Weldon stage. So just if we can just let me get through this, and then we can move on to the show. The Mack Weldon line of wrestling underwear. There's a Mr. Perfect underwear, which is all neon, and you could always see their pecker just like sticking through. It's a real popular one, I heard. There's the John Cena all denim underwear. The Mr. Sacco underwear, which is still underwear. Or it could be, for male exotic dancers, the Mr. Cock Sacco. All right. They're not all winners. This is Mack Weldon. You blame them for these horrible ideas. Mr. McMahon, Vince McMahon's geriatric adult underwear. All right, diapers. Thank you. Ryback has a new pair of underwear. The dick hole opens and it says, "Feed me more." Coco B underwear. That just had to be said, right? No, nothing special. There's the Money in the Bank briefs. That's what's in the bank. Can you work on your roof on the... I don't even know what that reference is, sir. Climbing the ladder, yes. You can climb the ladder to success in your Money in the Bank briefs. You can also cash it in. There's the steel cage chastity underwear. And then there's the Undertaker underwear, which there's like a little extra room so your dick can like sit up out of nowhere. All right, some good jokes here to start off the comedy show. Thank you, I appreciate it. Brought to you by MackWeldon.underwear.net. Also, I was coming into the show, and I was coming into New York, I guess 34th and 11th here, and I guess I wasn't aware of what else was happening at this place, and I was like, oh man, what a come out for, well, coming out is probably the worst term to use here for the Now Hear This festival. And I was like, wrestling fans are really dressing crazy these days. Like, I could see, and for those who don't know, RuCon's Paul drag. Wait, what is it? RuPaul's Drag Squad, which is a new TV show that's coming out soon. RuPaul's Drag Con is here, and I saw him, and I was like it didn't, especially as like you can see me, I'm kind of like a macho, I don't know, like jockey type of dude, but because I've been in wrestling for so long. Like, that does not faze me just because of wrestling. I was looking at all these people, and I was like, oh, man, like, that would look great on, like, Kalisto. Like, that's the... like, wrestlers could wear those outfits. Or, I feel, take any of those wild drag con participants and just slap a Bullet Club logo on them, and you're selling it at Hot Topic. And I feel you're making money. I have 3 guests on tonight. I'm super excited to talk a little bit about wrestling. I hope you welcome into our world of professional wrestling, and I'm excited, and I hope you guys are too. So let's bring out our first guest. I wrestled him last night. I'm super excited about it, and I know he was just on here talking to Sam, but I got some different stuff that I want to talk about. So please welcome Bobby Lashley up to the stage. And I haven't seen... We can just keep clapping. What do you think? Hey, Bobby, how you doing? Oh, I'm great, man. I'm great, thanks. Colt, you are so muscular and sexy. I mean, your penis is huge, too, Colt. I know, Bobby, this is crazy. I mean, we were dressing in the locker room last night, but you don't have to say that about me in front of the crowd and everything. Nah, man, you're beautiful. You got a wonderful tan. You're my favorite Jew, is what I'd say. Should we find Bobby Lashley? Do I leave my own podcast to find? Does he know how I feel about Donald Trump? Oh, there's Bobby.
I apologize.
Nothing to apologize about. Oh, let's get comfortable. Bobby, first of all, thank you for saying those nice things about me beforehand. Talked about my penis size.
Dang.
Talked about your love for Jewish wrestlers.
It's that kind of show already.
Oh, yeah. Is that a surprise to you?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. Me and Sam are a little bit different, I would say.
All right.
Sam's like, tell me about your first move in wrestling. And I'm like, tell me how big penis is. I need this information.
Is that an actual thing?
No, but I'll share a story with you, which I probably shouldn't be sharing here, and then you can kind of understand what's... When I was on... When were you done with WWE? I don't think we shared a locker room there, did we?
No, I was out right before you came in.
Okay, yeah, 2007. The first thing I came in, and if you guys remember, there was a tag team named Jesse and Festus. Jesse was Terry Bam Bam Gordy's son, and Jesse's like, "Hey, show Colt the trick," and I was like, "What's the trick?" And then he just whips it out and starts flopping it around. He's like, "You ever heard the sound of a horse?" I was like, "Good Lord." For those of you who don't know, was a 7-foot wrestler who is a huge man, and you can guess what else is huge on him.
I don't even know what to say right now.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, who did that for you when you first got there?
No, I didn't have to see anybody's penis when I went up there.
But you sounded so disappointed, too. Oh, I was told I was going to see a penis.
The myth, the legend.
But did you get, I don't know, man, like, because wrestling's notorious messing with people, or just ribbing around because we have nothing to do and we're bored.
Of course.
But I mean, looking at you, I wouldn't, like, who's the asshole who's like, oh, I'm going to give him some shit?
You know, we talked about that earlier, and I thought that I had kind of like veered around that. Nobody really...
Yeah, because you look like you look.
But you know what? You know how it is in the wrestling business. There's those little things that you get inside the wrestling ring where they're, oh, yeah, we're cool, everybody loves you. And then you get those little cheap shots in there. I had a lot of those. I really didn't know that I was getting them until afterwards. But after I looked back at it, I was like, man, that little bad mother, he was. There was a handful of people that did it.
Yeah, go on.
But I can't really say
You don't
names.
have to name names. Oh, you don't have to name names. No, don't name names.
Oh, okay.
Just scenarios.
Yeah, well, okay, there was one that I went in the ring, and this particular person liked to get flippers all the time.
Flippers, which is
Yeah,
forearms.
just a little forearm. And you know,
Not to be confused with dolphins. That they would, This person would get in the ring and give me dolphins. I thought it was really weird.
It was one of those things where it was like you could kind of turn the head and pop him on the neck, pop him on the side of the face, but it was always like strategically pull my chin forward and bam, hit me right in my chin. Which I didn't, I just kind of took it.
Right.
I thought I was tough.
But there's people in wrestling who, like, are the biggest wusses backstage, but they're like, oh, I can get away with this because it's in the ring.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, I'll give names. Colt Cabana, professional wrestler. For sure. No, but like that's happened even to me. But because you're in the ring, and it's like if you, because of your amateur background, in a second could probably just murder a human being. But it's just like not allowed.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I thought that they wanted to see me, like, it was almost like they were trying to get me in trouble. It was like, let me get him react out in the ring, snap, and then we can get rid of him. Maybe.
Do you, because you, I know the intro to me was a nice man in podcasting, but I'd have to, your reputation as a really nice, polite man goes very far. Have you ever gotten like super pissed in wrestling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
You're like, I came in the first day and I was like, let's see it.
Yes. I heard about this horse.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna feel real awkward next time I see him.
Oh.
I'm not gonna ask him.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's a party trick. I don't even know.
He might think a little bit past it and want to do something with it.
You get mad.
Yeah.
When do you get mad?
Well, there was one time, and I had a match, and I kind of saw both sides of it, but my side was just, we're doing a job. And I had a pay-per-view match against someone the weekend on Sunday, and we were on SmackDown, and we were supposed to have a match, and I was supposed to smoke him in the match. But then we were supposed to have the pay-per-view match on Sunday.
Was your opponent marijuana?
I can't talk about that. I'm a good guy.
Like, who do you smoke?
I don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
I live in Colorado and it's legal.
Nice.
So anywhere else.
Bill over there, love that one.
Man, I had the match and we're putting it together and we're looking at it, and this particular person was like, what is this shit? And goes off and throws the paper and all this stuff and walks back. And the agent for the match was Arn. I think it was Arn Anderson. So we're sitting back there and I was like, I don't know. And he's like, yeah, he's pissed off and he's running back there and he's completely pissed about it. So he comes back, he was like, I want to have a meeting with Vince. And I was like, all right. So we all go back there and Vince brings us in the office and I'm sitting down. He's sitting down and Arn's sitting down and he's just going off on this is bullshit, doesn't make any sense. And this is Vince the whole time. So I'm sitting there like, I'm just basically a pawn in this game. So I'm just sitting back like, okay. And then he's like, fuck this. And he slams his hands and he walks out. And I was like, man, can anybody do this with Vince? So I'm just sitting there like, all right, whatever. And then Vince turns to me and he looks at me all serious and he goes, you're the champ, right? And I said, yeah. And then he just stares at me. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go whoop his ass then. And he goes, don't do that right now. But you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And he kind of let it out there. And that's kind of how it was. And the whole day, for the rest of the day, and we're sitting at the because, man, I have zero ego when it goes to professional wrestling. I have zero ego. Hornswoggle, if he comes right here, I'll job out to him in a second. It's not about that.
How'd your match go last night?
I won.
Okay.
I got paid off.
Just for the record, I beat Bobby Lashley.
I got paid off.
Thank you.
It was a hard-fought match. I tried. He counted my spear. The only person that's ever counted my spear.
Thank you.
You guys clap for that, huh? Yeah. Well, the rest of the day, I was like, man, I'm still kind of green, still kind of new. We gotta have some kind of conversation before going out there. So the whole time, I'm like, all right, and he doesn't want to talk to me. So I was like, so I start getting pissed off too. So now we're like right before the show. We hadn't talked about anything. So he had to go to Arn and tell Arn, I kind of want to do this, kind of do that. So Arn comes back and kind of tells me, and I was like, well, this is bullshit. He's not even going to say anything to me, not having the courtesy. It's not me. I don't write the show. I'm a pawn in this game. So if he doesn't like that, he shouldn't be pissed off at me. But at this point, I'm like furious. So now the show starts, and we're up pretty soon, and he comes over, he's like, okay, I figure let's do this, do that. And I'm just looking at him like, I'll do whatever the fuck you want to do, but right now I don't really even care. So I'm just listening to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I was like, all right, I could care less what you say right now. And then we get out to the ring, it's like ding, ding, ding. He comes at me, and he was supposed to start getting on me. He throws the punch, I block it right away. Boom, I just hit him. He falls down. He starts running. I clothesline him over the top, and then he's trying to call spots out there in the ring. He's like, catch my boot. I was like, fuck your boot. Catch your boot, throw it down, boom. Throw him back in the ring, and the whole time I'm just beating the shit out of him. But I'm doing it in a very safe way.
Okay. I'm so scared right now. This is a whole different side I've ever seen of you, Bobby.
I got a little bit of an angry streak. But, I mean, that was it. It was like the whole time, and then it went all the way into the point where I was like, all right, you can cut me off. And then he grabs the hole, and he was like, calm down. I was like, I'm calm, bro. It was you. For 8 hours, you running around like an asshole throughout the day. It wasn't me. So, hey, now you want to calm down? All right, let's calm down. But the finish is a spear. So whatever you do, it's coming.
Yeah.
And that's how it was.
Guess who didn't reverse that spear that night? Should have talked to me. I know what the deal is.
There's ways.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
I could feel you right now. You're amped up a little bit about it right now.
I can't be amped up because of the person. I mean, because.
But I'm just saying, like, you recollecting that story, you could see the emotion that it brings out in you.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, you know how it is in the wrestling business. There's some people that you're just not going to like. I mean, you try to. You're like, it's business. We can talk. We can do everything. But it's like your two personalities. You just came from two different lifestyles that your lifestyles are never going to like clash. So for the purpose of the business, you're going to shake hands. You're going to be friends. But deep down, you're like, you're an asshole, bro. I'm not an asshole. I try not to be an asshole. You're an asshole. And everybody knew him as an asshole, but they were like, oh, but he's our asshole. And I was like, he's your asshole, but I don't like him.
So this is a great transition.
To nice people.
To, no. To Bobby Lashley's WrestleMania moment. I got to talk about Donald Trump. I guess for those who don't know here at the festival, he was your manager?
He's my friend.
Fuck. So the match was, what was it? It was you versus Umaga. Yep. Donald Trump was your friend, and Vince McMahon was Umaga's friend,
yes.
Which is kind of weird. Yeah, and so, you were around him for a couple of weeks. Like, did you become a friend with Donald Trump? I guess, you see, you've probably talked a lot about this since this has all come around. And, like, I don't know. Like, I have no intentions to make this political, but I do have intentions to just, like, know what he was like around backstage and how weird he was. If he was weird, I can only assume he was weird. He must have been weird.
All right.
Is it weird for you to do you try to step away from it when you
No,
talk
I don't mind talking about it at all. And the reason why I don't mind talking about it at all is because I think it's kind of like garbage what's going on right now. And it's not because of him. Because when he came there, and I told people this before, I care less about anything. Like I'm not going to judge anybody, but when he came there, and my relationship with him and what we did was completely fine. When he came there, he didn't try to like bully his way into it. He said, "How can I make this better?" And that's all he tried to do. He didn't try to like overstep the boundary. He didn't tell me how to do the match. He didn't tell Umaga how to do the match. He didn't tell Stone Cold how to ref. He didn't tell anybody how to do anything they did. He said, "How can I make this better?"
Did he look at the wrestling ring and go like, "We could build a wall around this ring,
and we can make wrestling great again"?
Yes. But like when he was backstage, were the boys like trying to do weird? Was anyone trying to rib him? Was there like, or was everyone kind of like very step offish of him?
Yeah. No, I don't know how everybody else was with him. I know that when he came there, you know how it is. When somebody comes, they're just like going straight to where they need to go. And then they're working straight with who they're... And if you don't actually physically go to these different people, then you probably won't have any kind of connections or contact with them at all. So when I went, he came to me, he goes, "Oh, it's us working together." He shook my hand, and I was like, "All right, well, you're not racist."
Proof. There was proof.
I'm not racist because I have a black friend, and I was him.
You're his one claim to fame.
But you know what? This is one thing that I do think is kind of BS. And when they talk about fake news or whatever they talk about, is I had an interview with him or about him, and they called me up. They said, "We want to do Skype." I said, "All right, fine." Open up my laptop. I'm sitting in there in my kitchen, and they asked me a series of questions. How was it like working with him? And it's basically the same thing that I'm saying right now.
Right.
It's like, look, he just played his role. He wanted to do some part of the match, which they gave him a part of the match when he got to beat up on Vince. That was a rib, because Vince was kind of took it on.
That's what Sam said. He punched him on.
Yeah.
So what was it, just to make that quick? Vince wanted Donald Trump to punch him on the top of his head so he could hurt his hand?
Well, he was trying to figure out how to do it and what to do, because if somebody doesn't wrestle and they want to be a part of it, you're like, what can you have him do? So he had the whole takedown, and he was supposed to like give him some shots. And of course, Vince tucked his head, so he cut him on the top of his head, which is the hardest part of your head, which kind of hurts your hand. I don't know that I necessarily did that to Donald, but he got up and kind of like sold it a little bit. I was like, "Oh, that's..." But that was a whole rib. Is like, I'm gonna let him punch me in my head and hurt his hand.
Right.
I think that's what it was. But that's all it was. But I had an interview. When I had the interview, I'm sitting.
And then you're going to take Linda McMahon as my small business, and that was an even bigger rib.
I can't go into the political conversation. But what they did is, and I didn't like it because later on I watched the show and they said we spoke to Bobby Lashley about his time with Donald Trump, and here's what he had to say. And they took a clip out of our interview that had nothing to do with that and made it sound like if I was trying to bury him. And I was like, that's bullshit, man. So I said, you know what, if I want to believe some of the stuff that he's saying as far as them twisting his words and taking clips out and putting it on Facebook or wherever to make him look bad, I believe it, because they did it to me twice, 2 different interviews.
Can you repeat after me?
No.
I hate Donald Trump. Okay. So.
I like the president. I like our unemployment going down.
But
I like our deficit going down.
He didn't try to man, there's got to be a diva story in there somewhere, right?
I almost got married to one I had kids with.
Oh, I meant with Donald Trump.
Oh, no. I didn't know where we were going with this.
I love how open you are about that, though.
I thought we were supposed to talk. He said, what were we talking about? I said, whatever.
Anything, yeah.
I have no filter.
That's not a thing anymore, huh?
No. No, he didn't say anything about any
We can talk about you. It's okay. Okay, so let's as we were wrapping you up a little bit, let's you're doing MMA, which obviously comes from a background of amateur. Did you win the world thing as a youngster?
The world thing, yes. I had a background. That was the good thing about wrestling, about fighting. Like I told your friend, because I got interviewed about your friend, CM Punk.
Thanks for that smile.
That was the only hard thing, man. Because like with fighting, you gotta take into consideration when you go out there. There's probably going to be somebody that can do something better than you, and you have to have something that you can go back on. And I could always go back on wrestling. I won nationals 3 times when I was in college. I took second at the World Championships. So if I got into muddy waters, I could just take a guy down and pin him down and just smash him. And that's what I was thinking. And that's why, I have 17 pro fights right now. And it's just because I had that wrestling background. If I didn't have something to fall back on, I probably wouldn't get in there because, as tough as you are, it's kind of scary in there where no one's going to break up that fight until somebody is done.
Yeah, but you're doing great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And you're signed to Bellator, right?
Yes.
Great. And you're signed to Global. I had to get the Global Force
Impact,
Presents, Impact
TNA.
Presents. The
Jeff Jarrett / Dixie Carter
right. But let's promote them. And so you're wrestling with them now.
Yeah.
And they're on Pop TV.
Yeah.
And doing anything fun?
Yeah, man. There's some good guys there, and I think right now it shows. Some of the guys that just left there, they're doing big things in WWE right now.
Right.
With AJ, Samoa, Bobby Roode. Fucking Bobby Roode's amazing. I keep talking about him. EY, he's there. All these different guys that went over there. But right now, there's some good guys there. Patron's there. Johnny Mundo just came over. Eli Drake, I like him as a champ. I really do. I think he's great on the mic. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler. He just put himself in a position where he was a jobber so long, so now he's trying to earn that legitimacy back. But I think he's doing great. And we have a lot of things going on. Right now, I'm doing this big angle with MMA. So I have some of the top MMA guys on my team. And I'm trying to make that decision if this next year I'm going to focus a little bit more attention on fighting or if I'm going to focus more attention on wrestling.
And after you tapped out last night to me, maybe
that's going to be bad. I hope the next guy I fight doesn't see that because he's going to know that was a hell of a submission.
Thank you.
I am going to copy it.
I think I'm going to bring my talents to Bellator. And I would like to. I'd like to let it know. I like to fight Butterbean
or CM Punk
or Tank Abbott or
CM Punk.
I'll pass on the Punk fight. We've fought enough. I'll pass on that. Bobby, where are you at on social media?
You know what? The only thing I'm not a big tweeter. If any of you guys are really good at tweeting and wants to take over my Twitter, I will pay you to do so. I know some of you guys write for one of these magazines.
Jesus.
Just hit me up. Hit me up. I will pay you to do it. I like Instagram because Instagram I could just really easily snap a picture and not write anything under it except hashtag. But I like Instagram.
So where are you at on Instagram?
Just my name, Bobby Lashley. Under Twitter is Fight Bobby, but
he's willing to sell you a contract for that.
I'm willing
if you want that Twitter
I see
handle.
some of you guys saying,
Hey, sure.
Yeah, okay, I got to look at yours first to make sure that you're not. You guys say PC with me. I'm a very PC person. I don't, except Trump.
Right. It's a scary one. Bobby Lashley, everybody. Thanks, buddy. Thank you very much. That was like a weird ad for ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter.com/first. Take over Bobby Lashley's Twitter handle.
All right, we're going to take a quick break from the podcast so I can tell you about Chubby's. I guess that can sound kind of funny, but they're shorts. Chubby's. It's a brand of shorts. Fall's here, and it's a bummer you got to put away those summertime clothes, but it's super exciting that Chubby's has a new outerwear collection. Chubby's now makes pullovers, zip-ups, and vests that will keep you feeling warm and looking fresh. Everything is wind resistant, and some of it is also water resistant too. A lot of Chubby's jackets and vests are reversible, so you get all the warmth and double the style. Check out all the styles. It's essentially if Dalton Castle put out his own look, this is what it would be. I'm partial to the boomer myself. They're a great fit, the right amount of stretch, and they're full of personality. Get that weekend feeling any time of the year with Chubby's outerwear. Get cozy with Chubby's by going to Chubby's.com chubbies.com/wrestling and get free 2-day shipping on your orders. That's CHUBBIES.com/wrestling and get them Chubbies in your mailbox in just 2 business days. Chubbies.com/wrestling. All right, let's head back to the show.
All right, let's bring up my next guest. You probably have never seen him before at this festival. Please welcome from the Sam and Jim Show and the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. Who could it be? Who could it be? Sam Roberts, everybody. Hi.
Thanks, man.
Welcome to the show. I like your T-shirt. What are you wearing today?
It's somebody on Instagram sent it to me. There's people on Instagram that just like make wrestling shirts, and then
It's called ProWrestlingTees.com/Colt Cabana.
But like sometimes they just send me the shirts, and this one is like it's like a takeoff of like the old kind of mid to late 90s like hip hoppy NBA T-shirts where they had caricatures of all like the basketball players. So this one is all. It's everybody from Raw from 97 to 2001.
Okay. I mean, for me, right, as a kid, a Chicago kid, like we had the three-peat. I know what you're saying, those T-shirts.
Right.
And we would go, right. That's like the only other thing besides wrestling. Like I remember going to Toys R Us. I needed to get those LJN dolls. Like
Right.
I needed them. And then I also remember, like after the Bulls won, we had to go to Sport Mart and get those character T-shirts.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be a dork when you showed up in school.
Right.
You couldn't.
Look at this
not
dork
have-
wearing a My Pet Monster T-shirt. I don't
But
know.
it was all about the T-shirts. And like I never watched sports, but I always
Get out!
But I always did want to make sure that I had the cool stuff. Like I always had the starting lineup figures, and I always bought like football pencils from the school store because you weren't cool if you didn't have football pencils. But I didn't watch any of the games that any of the teams on the pencils played.
Is this a metaphor for professional wrestling also? Like, you sound like every fan on the internet. Like, I don't really watch wrestling, but I'll get on the message boards and see who they're shitting on and then shit on that person.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, TNA sucks.
Right.
Are you watching? No, because it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, then how would you know?
It seems right. That seems
Yeah.
kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Were you obsessed with anything about kind of the way I said? Like, I'd have to go to Toys R Us, get the newest LJN dolls. What was your obsession with wrestling as a kid?
Well, it was Hasbro's. Like, I mean, I had all the Hasbro's.
It doesn't have to be dolls if that's what.
No. It was like, I mean, I'm still.
Also, I called them dolls.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't want to correct you on your own show.
Yeah.
But I was personally offended.
You should be.
Yeah.
I was offended.
No, like, yeah, the Hasbro's were a huge deal for me. And, I mean, because it wasn't like wrestling T-shirts weren't big then when we were growing up because you'd get like the WWF merchandise catalog.
I always felt that they were too expensive to buy in the catalog.
Yeah.
And my mom wasn't going to give me, I don't know if you were that kid, but my mom wouldn't give me her credit card.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. I had a deal with my dad where he would pay for half the pay-per-views. So if I wanted to get the pay-per-view, I think they were like probably like $30 at the time. I would have to come up with $15 on my own. Then when In Your Houses started coming out, he's like, "No, I'll give you half of the big four, but In Your Houses, you're good on your own. Like you want
You had to pay for the full.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were going to get a sweet $7.99 deal.
No way. In Your Houses, it was all me if I wanted to order those.
Were you the kid that ordered all the pay-per-views?
Yeah.
All of them?
All of them. All the WWF ones. I never ordered a WCW pay-per-view.
Because
I was just a WWF fan, and I didn't have the money to be ordering 2 pay-per-views a month.
I remember Flair and Steamboat, I think it was Chi-Town Rumble, 89 at the UIC Pavilion, and I remember being like, can we please go to this? And my dad's like, that's not real wrestling. We only go to the Rosemont Horizon and watch.
So it wasn't even like real versus fake or anything. It's just like if it's not at the Rosemont Horizon.
Yeah, if it's not WWF, it's not the real thing. He's like, that's like some bootleg stuff.
Yeah.
And that went on to be one of the best matches of all time.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's why, like, you have to go back. I was a tape trader in high school. So, like, that's when I started going back and really appreciating stuff. Because other than that, like, my exposure to WCW was only 6:05 on Saturday nights. Like, I watched WCW Saturday night every Saturday.
And it's true, though, like, even though, like, that's what, like, Vince is like, well, that's Southern wrestling. Like, as a kid, in my head, it was like, those are the Southern guys.
Yeah.
Like, come on, hey, we're here in professional wrestling.
And I completely bought into the Nacho Man and Huckster vignettes. I was like, yeah, WCW just uses the old guys.
Yeah, TNA sucks. If you watch TNA, no.
No.
Okay, so you've been on the radio here in New York
Yeah, well, that's what's great about Sirius is that we are broadcasting out of New York.
Well, Opie and Anthony, who you started with, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yes.
I mean, not start. Maybe got your break.
Yeah, no, I started with. I was
Okay.
an intern, for them.
Are they out of Florida? Why do I want to say that?
Are they on the floor?
Out of Florida. No, they
No.
weren't. They were New York guys.
No, they started in Long Island, then they moved to Boston, then they moved to New York.
And when you started with as an intern in New York?
I started as an intern. They were on XM before it was merged with Sirius XM. So it was here in New York, but it was a national show. And then we ended up doing the show also on K-Rock here in New York.
Right.
Yeah.
And when, like, how close into it do you start, like, saying, I'm the wrestling guy?
Well,
Because I know your personality a little bit, and I assume that you're kind of a stay back and not, like, kind of just, like, let him see how hard you're working kind of guy, right?
yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it was like I would be able to slip out whenever I could find a reason to just slip something out on the air, like if they were talking to me, like just say something about wrestling or whatever it was, just so I could get a little bit out. Like I would never just kind of, kick in the door and be like, hey, did you guys watch Raw? But like on a Tuesday, if they were like, well, what did you do last night, Sam? I'd be like, oh, I watched wrestling, of course. It's Monday. And
Right.
then like start to just like establish that. But the first big wrestling thing that I did for them was when Vince McMahon blew up in a limo. So it was like whenever there'd be a storyline ridiculous enough to get Opie and Anthony's attention because they didn't watch wrestling, but whenever it was like ridiculous enough that it was funny to a non-wrestling fan,
Right.
then it was gold for me.
Yeah.
So like I would watch Raw for a period of time in my life hoping that something would happen that I could relate to a non-wrestling fan. And so when that happened, like I was going in every day and giving like the fake updates as if it was totally real. I'd be like, yeah, well, they are investigating it. And they'd be like, it says the Federal Investigation Committee is investigating it. And I was like, yeah, that's who's investigating it. And they were like, the FIC is not a thing. Like, that's not real. I'm like, it says right there.
I've wrestled for the FIC before. They're a great promotion.
But yeah, so it would end up being like stuff like that. Or I have weird eating habits. I only eat like chicken and pizza and stuff like that. I don't eat steak. I don't eat rice. I don't eat pasta.
Can I just share? This has nothing to do with anything, but as a kid, I only ate hot dogs, corned beef, and pizza. But I grew out of it.
Yeah, no, I didn't grow out of mine at all.
You're still in it?
Still in it
Okay.
deep. And so that I can't
Chicken nuggets or grilled chicken?
I'll eat any kind of chicken, really. I will eat grilled chicken, but I prefer everything deep fried.
I'm trying to get you healthy. I'm trying to get you healthy here, but no.
No. Chicken. Processed food to me is a better bet.
You know this isn't a good thing, right?
That's what people say, but I've always
But you're still alive, so fuck them.
Exactly. Like I don't have diabetes.
Okay.
I don't think.
Oh, you're really winning here now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not an athlete, so I don't need to be in athlete shape.
Okay.
I don't have diabetes. I'm not dying. So
Well, we're all technically dying.
slowly, but I'm dying at the same rate as anybody else.
Fair enough.
So I feel like why would I then try to? Plus, you see all these old people that diet now, and like skinny old people look so much older. Like Bill Clinton looks downright sickly, and you long for the days when he was eating Big Macs and stuff, when he had a full face.
That's when he was healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting blowies under the table.
Right? You think anybody's blowing that old man?
Yeah,
No.
right.
No.
Okay.
But so that was talked about on the radio, and they decided to get Mick Foley because they knew like he was like my favorite wrestler when I was a kid.
Who you're cosplaying as right now, by the way. Thank you.
But they had Mick Foley come in because they wanted to see how legitimate this thing was. Because I said I won't eat steak, I won't eat rice, blah, blah, blah. I gag when I do. It's terrible. So they wanted to see how legitimate it was. So they had Mick Foley come in and feed me steak and rice like I was a baby. And like, oh, here comes the choo-choo train.
How?
And this was way early on. I was probably like 22.
Tell me where your head was. You must have been.
Well, I was like I was excited. That's how, and now I'm friends with Mick Foley because that's how our relationship started. You don't forget those things. Traumatic.
Sounds normal to me.
Yeah.
That's how I met my past girlfriends.
But I was freaking out, obviously, because it's Mick Foley and oh my God. But at the same time, like I was like, this isn't.
Yeah, which one won?
This isn't an act.
What
like,
won over?
So like Mick Foley's, I said, okay, like you can feed me the stuff. And then they had to, and so Mick Foley's feeding me the stuff. My mom's on the phone. Opie and Anthony are there. Bob Saget and Louis Black are just watching. Like, what is going on? because I had to grab the garbage can, and I'm taking bites of steak, which, by the way, everybody else in the studio is just eating. Like,
Sure.
for breakfast, like, this is a delicious steak.
They're so happy that steak is brought.
It's the best for them.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, like, I put one thing in my mouth and just start going, and start convulsing, like somebody's putting the mandible claw on me in 1996.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you were in Beyond the Mat, and you were going to be...
He's gonna. Yeah, but that's exactly what started happening. So I did what they asked. Like, I let Mick Foley feed me, but I was gagging and throwing up in the garbage can the entire time.
That's amazing. Is your wife okay with all of this?
I mean, it's yeah.
How do you find it? How did you go on dates at first?
Well, like, I've been with my wife since I was around then, since I was like 22. So before that, it was like high school, and I'd be like, "Hey, we're going to Applebee's."
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, you can get away
chicken
with
nuggets.
yeah, garbage food.
Yeah, okay.
Growing up, or you have to, like, I don't know, make a joke out of it and act like it's a charming aspect, a quirky little aspect of your charming personality,
Right.
Instead of a hindrance, for everyone involved.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have let's talk, do we want to talk, like, you have your own podcast?
Yes,
which
the
is
wrestling podcast.
The wrestling podcast. And you and Jim Norton are on in the mornings.
Right.
So does Jim like wrestling?
No, Jim, I can't even, so he likes Bob Backlund.
Why wouldn't you like Bob?
Like, he likes Bob Backlund, he likes to reference the knee walk. Like,
It's so funny. I have other friends, like normal human civilian friends,
Yeah.
who love the duck walk of Bob Backlund.
The knee walk, and he loved Bob Backlund's low energy promos.
Okay.
Like, well, Vince, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna give it my all, and I'm gonna. So that's about what he knows about wrestling. But in the last year that we've been doing the show, we've had wrestlers come in, obviously, and because of my fan base that knows me just through the wrestling stuff, they expect wrestling questions with wrestlers in there, right? Which is fair. And Jim doesn't know anything about it, so he asks questions that a normal person listening would be like, that's a good question. But a wrestling fan would be like, that guy's ignorant. He's an idiot, and he shouldn't be in that interview. So they started leaving YouTube comments saying, like, how they hate when Jim's in these interviews. And I'm like, it's Jim's show, too. Like, he's a host. You can't just not be in the interviews.
Well, and so Jim Norton, who's like I'm a huge comedy fan, so I know of his like real sick ways as a human being.
Yeah.
And so, right, I don't think that's news to anybody.
Right.
So does he like? Is that what he tries to get out of wrestlers? Like, hey, how are you sick in the head like I am? Or
a little bit, but he knows that, like, WWE guys aren't going to come in and talk about that stuff. So instead, like, lately what he's been doing is he'll just go to piss off wrestling fans more because he's realized that he's pissed them off. And, like, we had, like, Nikki Bella on, and I was like, oh, congrats on the engagement, blah, blah, blah. And Jim just goes, is your fiance a wrestler? And she's going, well, yeah, it's John Cena. And then he goes, oh, John Cena, is that a wrestler? Like, just really asking questions to troll wrestling fans at the expense of the guests usually, who are like, I don't know what's going on.
I don't. Yeah, to me that's very funny, obviously.
Right.
But if you're not a wrestling fan, like, you could be like, oh, Jim doesn't know who John Cena is.
Right. Or if you weren't like a wrestler who understands comedy,
right?
Like, and somebody who's going in being like, oh, which is
a lot of these wrestlers, by the way.
Right. That I always worry, like, oh my God, what, like, they're going to be like, what did Sam walk me into here?
Right.
Like, well, I know Sam, but what is this?
Well, have you found that on your podcast where you'll have, because you have a lot of wrestlers, I mean, it's all wrestlers when they come on, where they're just like, they're not picking up on any, because you have a natural comedic, I feel.
I try to shape myself to the interviewee.
Ooh, you're a real shapeshifter, huh?
That's it. Like, yeah. I'm like an X-Man. I'm like Rebecca Romaine.
Nice.
Yeah, Mystique. But yeah, no, I try to like work to their strengths, because at the end of the day, like, people probably who are listening to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast want to hear from these wrestlers. But yeah, there are definitely times where, like, I'll have to, as we're talking, rework what I meant by a punchline because it didn't land on them, and I'm like, and like wait for them to find a punchline that doesn't. It's not what I was saying at all, but I'm like, yeah, we're both laughing now, right? So good.
And then I mean, you have a fun relation. You have a good relationship with the WWE now, and you're on their network, and you're doing some fun stuff.
Yeah,
that must be like, I don't know if a dream come true, because it's weird, because as we get older, these dreams, they're not really real, are they? Like,
no.
I feel like when you were 20, if they were told you you're going to be on the network, you'd be like, oh my God. And now you're like, well, this is a job. I'm talking for you, by the way.
Right.
But like, I love this job. But my head isn't exploding here. I don't know.
Right, it's awesome. Like, oh, that's awesome. But it is one of those things. Well, because like when you're working at something, like you said, from the time that you're like 20 or a teenager or whatever it is, like you work. And if it takes
a great song, by the way. Work. Okay.
If you just Rihanna your way to the top. But if you're like, if you're clawing at something, right? When you finally get there, sometimes it's like, cool. Like, I deserve to be here, and you're right. Like, I would have exploded my head 10 years ago, but right now it's just awesome, and I do feel like I can handle this. Not like this is sort of.
Which, that's a great feeling too.
Yeah. Like, I almost feel grateful that it didn't happen when my head would have exploded.
Right.
Because I don't think I would have done a good job.
Yeah.
I think it would have been short-lived.
Also, judging by your hair, it kind of looks like your head did explode.
Right. Nobody would be able to tell. They'd be like, "Did Sam's head explode?" No.
Yeah.
That's just Sam for you.
Okay, so where are you at on social media, and what's the show? Where do you find the shows again?
I'm at social media, Not Sam, across the board: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, notsam.com. And you can find Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast wherever podcasts are. You can find them at notsam.com, Stitcher, iTunes, everywhere.
And if you want to give the show, if you're like, oh, I should check it out, which one should I check out? You should check out the one that I did with you.
That's right. That was actually, and that was very, very well received. That was a great interview.
Oh.
And you should definitely listen, because all the archives are available right there on iTunes.
They're there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Sam Roberts, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, one last interruption so we can thank Stamps.com. Buy your stamps online. Yeah, I'm telling you that. Print them out at home. Don't go to the post office. Just sit at home, print out your postage, and stop doing more than you have to. It's a hassle. Lines are long. Stop it. Also, Stamps.com, they don't close, ever, because it's in your house. Your house doesn't close. Stamps.com doesn't close. Stamps.com lets you buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. Not sure what class the mail is? That's no problem. Stamps.com will send you a digital scale. They'll even get you discounts you can't get at the post office. I use Stamps.com. I'm going to be selling Wrestling Dreams, my children's book, and I'm going to be shipping everything through Stamps.com because it's easy and it makes sense. And right now, you can have it easy too and enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and that digital scale without any long-term commitments. Just go to Stamps.com and click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Colt. That's Stamps.com. Enter Colt. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
Please welcome to the stage. He is the owner and entrepreneur of Feed Me More Enterprises. Is that right? Feed Me More Enterprises, LLC. Please welcome Ryback to the show.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Do you want to take it out, or do you want to... That sounded weird. Take it out.
We're good.
You like just knock everything over.
Yeah.
Are we good? Are we good?
I thought we settled that at WrestlePro during WrestleMania weekend in Orlando with the awkward opening for the match.
So awkward. Just like the tension in this room right now. No, but I did want to, I know I came to you. Just take it out of the thing. There you go. Because we had a talk afterwards.
Yeah, no, that meant a lot to me, actually.
And, I'd like to make it public that I did apologize to you. And the main thing, and again, the last thing I need is to talk about this whole fucking thing, but is my show is about positivity. I mean, not even positivity, but like joking around in a fun way and having fun with wrestling. And even when like there was those things, like if you listen back, you can hear me just being like, ah. And it's not the way I wanted it to go again. And so it happened, and I apologize. And that
I was
wasn't
even taken back with you apologizing because you were there. You weren't the one saying the things. So, and it was never between you and me. And I'm not the kind of person where just because you're friends with a guy, you know what I mean? Where you're not the one that said it.
Right.
So it was your show, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
And I never once even remotely was like, God damn, Colt Cabana for that. It was just, I wish he didn't go there with that. And it's no, I remember when that whole thing happened, and I at the time I didn't think it was even that big of a deal, but he has such a following,
right.
And he made some very valid points on other things about the company and things and his frustrations, and it kind of all just got lumped in together. And I to this day, there's still his followers and fans that, that just hate the idea of me, and it sucks because I feel like once you do get to know me, and then it's like, oh, maybe it's not that bad,
right? And we've always been on such great terms too.
Yeah,
that like I hated the idea of that, like that threw a monkey wrench in my head, and I'm glad in your head.
Not at all. It was never, and I always enjoyed being around you, and you were always good to me. So it never was. It was just one of those things, and two, I understand in going through my own things with WWE, and everybody has their own personal story and whatnot, and at that period in time, because me and him had always gotten along. Before that, we were never friends, but we were always civil with each other. And he's kind of in his own world, I'm in my own world. But we would talk occasionally if we're by the ring, and everything was always pleasant. And I think, too, when you're dealing with that atmosphere, and you're talking about top positions in the company, it's a very sensitive thing. And the two guys I supposedly didn't get along with the best were the two top guys at that time. It just makes sense. I understand it, and it's like you can't take anything personal. But I too understanding. And I was talking to you yesterday about this past year with my back and shoulder and the injuries, and he was really beat up too at that period in time when we happened to work. And I am a power wrestler, and I remember just giving him a simple slam one night, and his back was really messed up, and it was hurting him, and I was like, I didn't know what to do, because the one thing with Vince too is if you're a bigger guy and it looks like you're throwing fluff, there's nothing that will kill you off quicker. So it's like, at the same time, you don't want to ever hurt anybody, but the guy's injured. And so things he said, I just think he was really frustrated too. And I just, again, top spots, and I just think it all got grouped together.
All right, so we're going to segue out of that. I love the idea of Vince, like, notoriously loves big guys. So
God damn it, I love muscles.
Is that what he would say?
I had a conversation with him.
On your podcast, Conversations with the Big Guy?
Yeah, actually, he's an avid listener. He came on. One of the few. No, this was actually, I talked about this about my singlet. When they wanted me, I took my shirt off one time on TV out there. I ripped it off, and I was in athletic pants, and I guess he didn't know what I looked like after being there for 4 years. Which he was the one that put me in the singlet because he thought I was fat at one point.
Really?
I've never been fat any time in my career, but this is a real thing. We talked about it on the show before.
Oh, he probably would have. I was there, and
yeah,
he would have loved me. Like, I wonder what he thought of me. Jesus Christ. Cabana, you're obese. Good Lord.
Word got back to me that I needed to lose 30 pounds. This was right before I debuted as Ryback. I was in trunks. They put me in the singlet. A black one. I looked like a mini Big Show, and so I was like, I got to do something with this, and so I got a hold of RVD, and I was like, is it cool if I airbrush my singlet? I needed to do something, and I did it like the week before, and it just everybody was, oh, that looks good. I was like, okay, this is gonna work, but anyways, I ripped my shirt off one day on TV, and I get to the back, and Road Dogg and seeing him, you shouldn't have done that. You're going to trunks. And that started. I go, what are you talking? I've been in the single. This is how people identify me. This is my superhero costume for me, and you know what I mean. And Michael Hayes came up. He's, anybody talk to you? And about what? Be in trunks next week. No, I'm wearing my singlet. Then he got mad, walked away. Mark Carano comes over, and Vince needs you in trunks next week. Not happening. I go, he can talk to me if he wants to. I'm wearing my singlet. I'm in control. I'm not wearing those. And to me, it was starting all over again after that, and I didn't trust anything going on. So finally, everyone was pissed off, and I just I go, we need to talk, and we went to his office and talked, and I told Pat this before. He put down this bag he carries around, and you would think there's all these important documents, and it's just a bunch of Walgreens pills and supplements. And I was blown away. I put everything in pill cases, and but the one thing,
it's the Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 1 Body Slam Challenge bag.
Yeah.
That's what I assume.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
But it's just all supplements, and I was like, I do the same thing, but I put them in my little pill boxes and keep them all kind of organized. And it was just a bag. I was like, what is in there? I couldn't even focus on the conversation because I wanted to know what was in that Louis Vuitton bag of his walking around. And we had the conversation about the singlet, which I won, but I didn't win because he controls everything still. And eventually I went to Trunks just because I knew I was leaving, and it was just a mind games at that point.
So you won that one a little bit.
I did win that one, but yeah, I did. It was one thing, and even Cena, even Cable, and goes, congratulations. He goes, you won that, but ultimately, did I win?
Right,
you know what
obviously.
I mean? Yeah. Even if I think I won, I didn't win on TV after that.
Yeah.
Kalisto can thank me for that, but Vince we're sitting there, and he goes, God damn it, we're two meatheads. And I'm just saying, like, no, I'm not. I mean, I can talk.
Look at us, just best friends.
Just two big guys. What did you want to talk about?
If you were only around for what was that, bodybuilding federation?
Oh, God.
I could have got you on some GoPro. I could have hooked you up, Ryback. Oh, my God.
I wouldn't be here.
And then we were talking in the back, and I was like, ooh, save that for the stage, about your entrance, right?
Yeah, so I was telling you, my entrance, one day Billy Kidman came up, him Gorilla, and he goes, Vince was like, he was on the headset, and it was before the show, and nobody was in there. He goes, he's on the headset right now. He wants you to explain your entrance. And I'm just like going to go by the ring and just bullshit with the guys, and I go, what do you mean? Like, he goes, he doesn't understand your entrance. Like why you do the arm thing, and then the arms thing, and then all the arms, and then you hit your legs. And like I go, I'm collecting the energy in the arena. I go, I'm feeding off the energy of the crowd. So I'm collecting the left side, collecting the right side, then I'm collecting everything. And I go, I inject it into my quads because I just know Vince would understand that.
But is that real or that's...
No, this was the discussion. And Kidman's just listening to me. And like Vince could hear me over the headset explaining all this. And then I go, I inject their energy into me and I shut down. And then I wake up, it's feeding time. And but I had to explain that to him, and it was just really. And Kidman just goes, "That's so fucking weird." It was.
But I love the idea of like once you said injection, Vince was like,
"He got it."
I got it.
Yeah. That was. Know your audience. I knew as soon as I started talking. Thank God that word injected and really emphasized it. Oh, I get it.
Is there any other weird? I could talk about. A great.
Vince loves shoving. He's a big. I can't tell you. He got me a few times where he comes up behind and he likes to give you the shove, which is the whole Titus O'Neil thing.
Right.
Like everybody just kind of knows. You let Vince get you. Like you can't really. I mean, the guys.
I need a cartoon of you and Vince McMahon. Like that would be everything.
Yeah.
Just you two, like your interactions, I think.
Oh, if you would have heard we had 20 minutes before we got into my singlet talking about weights and back exercise. I don't even quads. I can't even. And I'm just thinking about what the fuck are we talking about? Like, I just wanted to talk about my singlet. And then Stephanie came in and I didn't get out of my chair because I was so into the conversation at that point. And I'd zone out on things. And when you're talking to Vince, it's a very serious thing, I was very comfortable with him at that point, but I was very focused on the conversation. And Stephanie comes in, and I don't even see her come in, but I didn't get up and say hi to her. And I just was sitting there oh, hi, Stephanie. And I remember after she left, Vince, he goes, you stand up with my daughter, please. And I just went to her she goes, no, you were fine. But Vince, he's just very protective of all that. But it's as far as the shoving goes, it's kind of understood. You don't turn around and shove the man back. And he loves that where he'll come up behind you and you shove and you get fucking pissed because you just turn a hey Vince, and and he walks by with the walk and but that's the Titus O'Neil thing. He would sometimes I think kind of go back at him, and it's like what are you doing?
Yeah,
don't.
I just picture Vince at 90 in an old man's home.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking
bullying everybody.
Thinking he's
shoving
20.
down all the other old men out of their walkers.
That's whatever Vern, because you heard the Vern stories, right? Vern was shooting with people in his old time. I think he murdered a man, allegedly. I'll say allegedly on that one.
Yeah. Smart move.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be going now.
And now, okay, so let's talk about the first time because we were going to talk about the first time that we met, but we had a match together in OVW. Was that the first time in your head?
That was. I was remembering FCW the OVW that was such a humbling thing for me.
It must have been, and I felt bad. To give some context, you were.
I was released out of developmental. I had probably the worst year of my life as far as got caught up with a girl and kind of went into a phase where she enjoyed drinking, and I never was a big drinker really up to that point, and I kind of caught on to her habits a little bit. And I always remember Cody Rhodes. I lived with him before all this, right before I got released, or right after, so I apologize. And he goes, Reeves, you need to hit rock bottom. You're still staying too positive. Like, you need to hit rock bottom to be able to come out of this.
And then afterwards, do the people's elbow.
Yeah. And I was just like, that's really shitty advice. If you can avoid rock bottom,
sure.
Let's avoid rock bottom. And I didn't take it too seriously, but I really did hit rock bottom after that, and kind of got caught up in Louisville, Kentucky, and living with a girl, and she had a kid, and kind of playing father for a year, and drinking heavily, and mostly at night, and not doing anything stupid, but just it kind of was taking over a little bit, and I was just so disheartened with everything, and I wasn't wrestling, and I was depressed, and I didn't want to go back to Vegas because I knew if I went there, I'd get a job making good money, and I didn't know any wrestling thing. I just knew OVW. I wanted to get back there. But anyways, with all of this, I finally got back where I was allowed to go back to OVW and try to start wrestling again after all this.
And we had a match.
A tag match. You and
Spears. Now
Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, I was going to say Mr. Perfect. Perfect 10.
Yeah. And I came in, and I forget, was it me and Pat?
It might have been
I think Pat. Was that you?
It was, yeah.
And I remember it before, when you're a contracted talent in WWE, in developmental, though, this was essentially, though, I was not the focal point.
Yeah.
You guys were the focal point, and it was an enhancement match.
Yeah, we
for you guys to go over on as strong.
In like 30 seconds.
It wasn't long.
And I knew who you were, and I felt like, I don't know if you remember, but I was like, I must apologize to you like 10 times.
But I wasn't expecting it either. Like, I didn't know I was being... Danny was just giving me an opportunity to come back.
But you were like 9 times bigger than me, and I'm just fucking whooping your head. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, it was one of those things. I was like, just deep down, I knew, I was like, man, this just feels so wrong to be used in this role, and I never want to feel this way ever again. So it was like a really good thing to happen, because you always, you always got to, even I was already kind of going through the secret positivity stuff. So it was just like, oh, this makes me feel really, really bad. And because I knew what I had before, I kind of lost it. I need to figure out a way to, and eventually I reinvented myself with Ryback and the Terminator character, and it all worked out beautifully, in which I then met you at FCW. I remember it was a battle royal in a car show. Like, this is just a memory I have, and you were sitting there, and I got the vibe that maybe you'd been there for a little bit, and you weren't necessarily happy. And I was going over in that battle royal and I get the guaranteed title shot for the FCW, which never paid off. But it was the battle car, that's the gimmick for the show. And you go, oh, look at you getting quite the push shot. Something like, and it always just stuck in my head because I remember you were unhappy. And I go, man, I felt bad. And then later, everybody goes through this at different points in time there, I feel like. So, but that was one memory
I'm still bitter about that.
Me winning the battle royal
that title shot I never got. Jesus. Yeah, still a little bitter.
Shitty car show.
Great. So, and then let's, as we have you depart, you let us know where you're at on social media, and also about your Feed Me More LLC.
Ryback22 on Twitter, the big guy Ryback22 on Instagram, Ryback247 on Snapchat. And then our podcast, Conversation with the Big Guy, on iTunes. And you can follow us on Twitter at CWTBG as well. FeedMeMore.com and Feed Me More Nutrition available on Amazon and FeedMeMore.com.
Wonderful. Ryback, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, buddy. And you can stick around right after this, where him and Pat Buck will be having the same amount of fun. And it's a really fun show, and you should enjoy it. And I recommend it. All right. That is the show for this week. Let's give yourself a round of applause for coming out. Big thanks to the Now Hear This Festival, Earwolf Media, Midroll, WrestlePro, who brought me out this weekend. Let's give a round of applause to our guests, Bobby Lashley, Sam Roberts, and of course, Ryback. I'm about to go back to my apartment on this podcast and do some plugs and
Upcoming events.
All right, ColtMerch.com and DigitalColt.com is the best way you can support. Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /AOW Podcast, also /Colt Cabana. My storytelling podcast, Pro Wrestling Fringe. 3 new episodes are out, plus past archives of the show, ad-free at StitcherPremium.com /Colt. Use the code COLT, get a free month. ColtWrestling@gmail.com is my very public email. Maybe your promoter want to put me on your upcoming show or convention. I have a YouTube channel. I have a website, ColtCabana.com. I also have a P.O. box there. You can send me something fun. Upcoming November 11th, 12th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, Fort Lauderdale, Lakeland, San Antonio, Dallas, and Oklahoma. I'll be doing commentary, ROHWrestling.com. Friday, October 27th, Riverside, California, LuchaVavoom.com. Saturday and Sunday, October 28th and 29th, Gainesville, Florida. I'm doing that podcast, 540 at the Hippodrome. Sunday, I'm wrestling, thefestfl.com. Friday and Saturday, November 3rd and 4th, Berwyn, Illinois, and LaSalle, Illinois, AAWrestling.com. Thursday, November 9th, Los Angeles, California, Bar Wrestling. Friday, November 10th, San Francisco, California, CowPalace.com for APW. Wednesday, November 22nd, Chicago, Illinois, live at NorthBar.com. That's the comedy show with Marty and I. Friday, November 24th, Cleveland, Ohio, AIWrestling.com. Saturday, November 25th, Chicago, Illinois, AAWrestling.com. Friday and Saturday, December 8th and 9th, Brooklyn, New York, and Rahway, New Jersey, WrestleProOnline.com. Want to make sure to thank you guys at home. Thanks to Cable Guy Jeff and Stu Stone, Kid Russell and Matt Jenkins, Dane Miller and Creaky with tech help. Let's thank some sponsors. HighSpots.com, a VOD service that's amazing. Get your PWGs, get your Kevin Steen shoots, get your $5 wrestlings. Also buy some AMA knee pads, some gear, some masks, a wrestling ring. OneHourTees.com, they help run ProWrestlingCrate.com and ProWrestlingTees.com. That's the place where you can support your favorite independent wrestler. And TweakedAudio.com/Colt, the earbuds that I use. Get over 30% off and free shipping just because you listen to this show. All right, Colt, back to you to close this thing out.
All right, Colt. You did a great job in your apartment. I'm sure you're very comfortable, and you sounded wonderful. But we're going to get out of here in New York City. So a huge thanks once more time. Guys, this has been The Art of Wrestling for Colt Cabana. I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mack Weldon stage at Now Hear This 2017. You're in for a treat because Colt Cabana is one of the nicest people in podcasting, and he's here. Please welcome to the stage, The Art of Wrestling.